Okay, we're rolling.
It's Dave from the How to Podcast series. I hope you're doing well. It's interesting. I had a different episode planned for today, and when I saw this come across an email and in a podcast from James Cridlin over at Pod News, I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't going to be evergreen podcast for like 5 years from now, but it's a moment, and I like to comment on it because I think we're only getting part of the story here, and what I'm hearing is very disparaging, and the sky is falling, and oh my Lord, what's going to happen to podcasting? And why? Well, something that's happened at Spotify, and apparently now Spotify matters for some reason to everybody because everyone laughs when you say the word Spotify and podcasting in a sentence. But as I kind of ponder this, I wanted to give my perspective on this as a voice in podcasting, hopefully a trusted voice in podcasting, and also somebody a little bit more balanced who's not so, I don't know, bought by others who they have to say what they have to say because somebody's paying them to say so. I don't have any of that. So welcome to the podcast with absolutely no ads. So you'll kind of get my leaning here in a second. Thanks for being part of the show. So apparently Spotify's added a way for us to skip the ads in podcasting, ads placed from an outside source, ads that are even placed, it's maybe even possibly inside the podcast by the host themselves. And if this is possible to have this skip function in Spotify, and I've actually seen it on my phone when I'm using Spotify, it's like, oh, that's an interesting button. If that's the possibility that we can just skip all the ads, well, first of all, that's one of the things that most gurus talk about is they use other platforms and other tools to do exactly that. They hit the skip button. When I listen to podcasts and the podcaster themselves is doing an ad, I skip it. I always skip it. I'm not going to buy anything that you're promoting on your show, and I'm not going to waste my time listening to your show. I listen to your podcast ads because for me, I'm not in the market to buy anything right now. I'm just want to come and support you as a podcaster. And I know that making money with your show helps to create the podcast. But I just did a post on LinkedIn basically saying if having ads in your podcast means that you keep podcasting, then maybe you just need to get another job or stop paying for something else and you divert that money back to podcasting. It's not on your audience to pay for this thing that you created. You bought a microphone. It doesn't require your audience then to now pay for your new hobby, which could turn into a business. A lot of the things I see in podcasting that bother me is when podcasters equate starting a show. Oh, by the way, I'm outside right now. My dog is next door barking. If you're like, why are there dogs barking? Well, I'll pause here for a second. I have moved out of my house and my studio to do recording because of a flood. We had two floods in 5 days. And right now there's a team in my house ripping apart my whole lower level of my house. And I have nowhere to record. This is the quietest spot I can find in the trees back in the corner of my property. And I have neighbors who have dogs, and now they think it's time to talk to me. So anyway, apart from that, you might hear the occasional bird, by the way, and they're on the podcast as a special guest. I'll try to give them credits in the show notes. But being outside and recording is very interesting, by the way. Very, very interesting. Anyways, when people talk about podcasting and having a turning your podcast into a business, that seems to be one of the most common podcasts about podcasting is turning your hobby into a business. And for some people, that's great. That really works well. You're a coach, you're an author, whatever. You have something to offer the world. But because you have a podcast about Star Wars, doesn't mean you're going to turn your podcast into a business just because you started a show. There's got to be something else to it besides that. And people love ads. People love to start a show. They get 10 downloads and they're like, when can I get a mattress sponsor? When can I get a supplement sponsor? When can I get a beverage sponsor? When can I turn this into cash? And unfortunately, that's what people see podcasting is. I see podcasting as a way to connect with real humans, deliver value, build relationships, and see what happens down the road. And over the last 8 years now of creating content with over 250,000 downloads across 2,500 episodes across 9 podcasts, I've put in a lot of hard work behind the scenes to get to this point, and I still don't have ads. And for the foreseeable future, I don't see a need for ads. My audience supports me in their help with supporting the show, sharing the show, telling others about the show, joining my meetup, um, by sponsoring the show through my Buy Me a Coffee. I've done really well on Buy Me a Coffee, and I've mentioned this here before. And if it's your first time here, nice to have you with us. I take the money that comes from Buy Me a Coffee and I redistribute it back to other podcasters because I want everyone to feel the joy of seeing some kind of recognition. If it comes through money, great. But I want them to see the joy of that coming back to them as a new podcaster, just to show them it's possible. Are you going to make a ton of money overnight? No, most likely you're not, unless you bring an audience with you to podcasting. You're not going to see that. So not every podcast is a business, and not every guru is right. And when we start talking ads, it's like that's the holy grail of podcasting. And again, that's the problem I have with James's post. I like James. I love James. James is a smart man in podcasting and radio. The guy knows his crap. He's really good. But in this case, I'm really struggling with his reaction because it feels like he's threatened by something under the surface with this announcement of Spotify skipping ads feature. And that makes me wonder, do I think podcasting needs money to survive? I think the big shows need money to survive. You know, the shows with a team of 20 and a person who just does YouTube thumbnails, and that's their 40-hour job every week is to create thumbnails, 5 different thumbnails for every episode, and test them all and come up with the best one and be a thumbnail expert. And that's their entire career is thumbnails. Okay, well, that's not happening for my shows ever. I'm not going to have a thumbnail person. That's just absurd to me. But I don't have a million downloads every episode, and I never will. This show, the How to Podcast series, will never have a million downloads, despite all my efforts and all my worrying and all my things I pay for and all the courses I take and all the gurus I talk to. This show's never going to have that because there isn't an audience big enough to support a million downloads per episode for the How to Podcast series. And I know that. So I'm not interested in chasing ads to be played right here to sell you some kind of crappy thing that you don't need and frustrate you as a listener with 30 ads in my podcast, right? Something ridiculous like that. I don't have it. I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't like it as a listener and I don't like it as a podcaster. So it's not happening. That's my choice. You can do whatever you want in podcasting. That's why you don't hear any ads in my shows. I've turned down ads from like Riverside. Riverside wanted to advertise right here to you. And I said, no, I don't like the product. It doesn't work for me. It's not my favorite tool. It's frustrated me more than it's helped me. And I've lost interviews with them. And it's just not a good feel, not a good look. I've had people say, we could get you like like a dedicated person to help you on Riverside. And I'm like, I don't need a dedicated person. I need a better tool. So for me, I said, if I don't like it and I don't use it, I don't recommend it. I'm not going to put it here on my podcast, no matter how much money you throw at me. Not interested. And I responded and said, no, thanks, and move on. So I have integrity for my show, I believe. And for me, ads make no sense at all. I'm not here to make money off the back of my podcast. My podcast is designed to connect me with you and to serve you to the best of my ability. I have a job, I have an income, and I pay for everything myself. I don't have an inflated team of people to make the content. I don't have anything here that costs me money except for like websites and some tools here and there. I'm recording this outside under a tree because I have no podcast studio at the moment on my cell phone because that's the best I can do right now. Do what you can with what you have where you are. It is the key to podcasting. And it's the key to podcasting without having ads that annoy you, that annoy me. I'm not interested. And that's why this announcement of Spotify, the ad skipping tool being the death of podcasting, as James is touting, I think it's a little overstated. And I think it's a little bit of a clickbait, really, to be honest. It's not the end. There are tools, there are apps right now that automatically do this. There are tools that will go into your podcast that you listen to, hunt out and destroy all and remove all the ads and give you a cleaned up, sanitized version of the podcast with no ads at all. These tools exist and they're going to keep being created because people hate ads. That's it. People don't listen to your podcast for your ads for the most part. There's some exceptions, but most people detest being sold to, especially like mid sentence when the person's like, and so then I was walking up the hill and what a great time to buy from Geico. Geico will sell you this, that, and this. Make sure you buy something from Geico. And as I was walking up the hill, like, no, no, I don't want that. I don't want that in my podcast. So if I don't want it, I don't think you want it. And if you really love the show that you listen to and they don't have ads, then that's maybe your chance, your opportunity to vote with your what you love and what you like. And so all of those podcasts you listen to, which is the majority of podcasts, don't qualify for big, meaningful ad sponsorship deals. The minority of podcasts have the numbers to warrant that. Then vote with your ears and vote with your wallet and support the podcasters who are doing this alone on their own and not taking a dime from anybody to sell you to an advertiser. Advertisers don't care about podcasting. They care about the people who listen to podcasting. That's the fact. You're just another spot on a spreadsheet. We have radio, we have TV, we have print, and we have this other thing we don't understand called podcasting. Let's get some ads on podcasting. You're being sold to as a listener, except here and except on some other amazing shows. You're not being sold to here on purpose. So my question for you then, do you skip ads? Like example for me would be YouTube. On YouTube, you get those ads, right? You can see where they're placed. You can almost predict them. And if my phone is in my hand and I can hit that skip button, I have to wait for a few seconds to play some of the ad, which means the sponsor got paid. Woo! But as I listen through the ad at the beginning, I'm waiting to hit that skip button. As soon as I can, I hit it. But for me, my phone is in my pocket for the most part, or it's somewhere else when the ad's playing, and I just have to bear it, listen and bear it. And so you're, you're like, well, Dave, just get the version of YouTube with no ads. Exactly. See what you just said? Get the YouTube version with no ads. Pay for YouTube. It's funny because it's okay on YouTube to pay YouTube to skip the ads, but it's not okay for Spotify to have a skip ad feature. What's the difference? What's the difference? There's no difference. It's just somebody doesn't like Spotify and they're using this as a way to light everything on fire and say the podcasting's dead. If if it's okay and acceptable on YouTube to pay YouTube to skip the ads, then why is it not okay for Spotify to have the skip ad feature? That makes no sense at all. That makes absolutely no sense. Just because you hate Spotify and just because you detest them as a company doesn't mean that their ad skipping feature is the death of podcasting. Because this show is completely not impacted at all by any ad skipping tool on YouTube or Spotify because there's no ads. It's a podcast created by a single person, a team of one who does everything themselves. I have no team, but my audience supports me. That's podcasting. Everything else is business. So are you in podcasting for business? Then great, go for it. And you're going to have to deal with the ad skipping tools that exist. YouTube, Spotify, and everywhere else. Apple taking a chunk of your ads. If you do video now, everybody wants your money, guys. Everybody wants your money and a piece of your territory, unless you don't sell your podcast to an ad, to a sponsor, and you just podcast for the love of podcasting. Am I a hobby podcaster with 2,500 episodes and over 250,000 downloads? I would say I'm not, I guess, the typical hobby podcaster who does a podcast here and there, but the majority of podcasters are like you and like me, who don't have ads, who don't have a massive audience, who podcast in the margins of life, after work, on weekends, when we have time. We do what we can with what we have where we are. And that is the best that we could do. That is the response to ad skipping tools and anything that comes down the road in the future that seem to be the death of podcasting, as we're hearing from Mr. Cridland. But actually, they're the death of podcasting, maybe for the big podcasts with a big inflated team who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode to create content to sell you products. The podcast, in my opinion, for those podcasts are secondary. The ads are first and the content is second. Here, the content is the only thing that I do on this show. And that's my approach. In podcasting, there's no rules. But if you feel like you're getting nervous by all of this talk in podcasting about the death of podcasting, then you may be listening to the wrong voices. And if you just want a podcast for the love of podcasting and you don't want to turn this into a business or a funnel, then don't. Don't. Focus on the podcast that you want to make. And you don't have to have ads. You don't have to say yes to sponsors. You don't have to make money with your podcast through a traditional ad placement in your podcast. But let your audience fall in love with you. And over time, you're going to see them step up and help. Going through this flood right now, I've had people reaching out to me from Iceland, Greenland, Norway, uh, in the US, Canada, New Zealand, Israel, and they're sending money through to my Buy Me a Coffee to support me, and people saying, like past guests saying, Dave, I wish I lived in your neighborhood. I'd be over there right now helping you. Like when you're in the thoughts and in the minds of your audience to the point where they will respond and support you, when you're going through probably one of the toughest times emotionally and mentally, and you're just exhausted physically from dealing with water destroying your house, to have people who think about you and reach out to you, people who listen to your show, people like Eric down in Texas, who's a professional Santa and a real estate agent. That's a combo. To have people like Eric who reach out to you and they're like, you made my day today. Like that is podcasting. Making 35 cents for every ad in your podcast that annoys everybody and makes people leave your show. That's a business. So you pick and do whatever you want in podcasting. But to those who think that podcasting is dead because there's a skip ad feature, that's that is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So every guru who jumps on board and on this bandwagon of Spotify's evil for the skip ad feature, go back in their content. And if they've ever said in any of their episodes about a tool or a way that they skip ads or whatever, they are part of the problem. And they're the reason why Spotify is putting the skip in there. So be careful. Go with somebody who's consistent, who has the same message, no matter what tool comes out in the future, and stick with that voice. Stick with a voice like this show because you're going to get the the opinions and the view from somebody who's not directly tied to a website, a tool, I am not sponsored by anybody. Nobody pays me to tell you anything. I have no money coming in from any company at all, ever on this show because I don't want to have to kind of tailor or tweak what I say so that I don't offend somebody who's paying me money to talk to you. You have me. And if you ever want time with me and talk through some of the things that you're working through in your podcast and you're tired of the stupid funnels in podcasting, come talk to me at podcast.ca. I'd love to chat. Thanks for being here.
What can you say about one of the nicest guys in Dave Campbell? You have, from the very beginning, been a supportive coach and mentor to so many people. And this collection of new fledgling podcasters like myself who have not even figured out the title or the true content that we're going to be publicizing, right down to those who've been podcasting for years, all feel very strongly that this is such an important part of the process and in helping to support one another in this community. And I'm certain that that all comes from you. So 5 stars out of 5 for anyone who is wanting to help support others and learn from others so that we don't repeat the same mistakes, so that we get more out of the experience by podcasting, so that we're able to find our why and really be connected to one another. And it just goes to show that whether you're coming to the Tuesday or the Saturday groups that you've put up online, that all of these people are wanting to remain in this open forum to discuss podcasting in all of its glory. And that is an incredible salute to you, as you really set the tone for all of us. And I sincerely appreciate all that you have and continue doing for us. So again, meetup groups for you, 5 out of 5. I will be there until I possibly cannot. Thank you ever so much from the bottom of my heart.
You're still here. Okay, so I'm even still doing bonus content, even though I'm sitting in the backyard on my last remaining wood chair and a little toy table that belongs to my grandkids. And I have to go get some more coffee. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I do this bonus stuff at the end of the episode just to honor the people who are here. And you're like, Dave, you said you're not recording in your studio, and I can tell by your voice and the sound quality is not the same. Yeah, it's not the same at all because I'm outside. So here's the fun part. Okay. I don't have any internet in my house right now. So I have no way to email or anything. So I'm using my data plan on my phone, which is already maxed out for the month, and I still have half a month left. So that's going to be an interesting bill because my house had a flood twice in 5 days. So I have no internet in my house. So what I'm doing is recording on my phone, and then I walk my phone into the house, really old school here. I actually plug my phone into my computer, which is not connected to the internet because I don't have the internet. I download the recording from my phone into Audacity, which is not connected to the internet. Again, all you people with your Riversides and your scripts and your this and your that, and you have to be connected to the internet to use it. I'm sorry, but when you have a flood and you have no internet, good luck to you. So I use Audacity. It's standalone on my computer. It needs no internet at all to operate. I download or transfer the audio from my phone, the file you're listening to right now, to Audacity. I put it in. I can run my tweaks, add in my music and stuff, save it. I then transfer it back to my phone, and then I go to a store where it has free Wi-Fi, like Walmart or something, or a coffee shop. And then I sit in the parking lot or go inside and grab a coffee or whatever, and I upload when I'm in the store. So I'm using their Wi-Fi to upload this to you, to my website, to my host, Spotify for Creators. And all this is happening without the internet in my house. So if you want an approach to podcasting that does not require internet for everything, because everything is internet based nowadays in podcasting for editing and all that, then maybe, again, I'll go back to my original statement that I love saying on the show. Do what you can with what you have where you are. I know the audio sucks on this. I don't like it, but it's either this or nothing. And I'm going to stay committed to my 365 days of podcasting, even if I have to sit outside under a tree, record on my phone, and do this, because otherwise, this is my mental break from all of the crap that's been going on in my life with the floods and all of that. And this is my chance to connect with you. So thanks for letting me have this, and thanks for pressing play and for sticking around to the end. You are the person I'd love to meet. So reach out to me, outofpodcast.ca. See you tomorrow.